Persons Bob Smith,
Here.
Roger Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Engel,
Here.
Commissioner Odahl,
Here.
Commissioner Green,
Here.
Commissioner Bushki, Commissioner Casper.
Here. Moving on to item B, citizens' comments. But Tim's gonna talk, hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which will include, minutes of December 6th commission meeting, 10th commission meeting, water bills, wastewater utility bills. I'll look for first, second, then have discussion.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Moved to second. Any questions?
On the bills, I just have two. Old-fashioned deduct meter pouch and old-fashioned deduct meter retort. What does that mean?
They came to us looking for, they have a lot of processes that they use our water, goes into products, so they came to us looking to install deduct meters. And just those words behind it just reference which room it goes into us.
Is that downtown or on Furnace Street?
There's one in each, they kind of went through both buildings.
Is that normal? If we sell water and somebody puts it in a product and hauls it away, we don't charge them for the sewer part? Is that what it is?
Yeah, if I mean, they pay for that meter every month just to have it.
Do they pay for the purchase of the meter?
No, we,
Why not?
we install that, so there's a payback period. We looked through that and looked that up, because we
Is
have.
it a hot water meter or is it just regular?
Just a regular meter. They were just, the sizing was different for that.
And you're sure that that's where it's going into the product and not down the sewer?
We've been in both buildings. We walked through both of them and identified all of them and
Alright.
exactly where they're
And
going.
I just wondered what this is here. It says train water main heaters. What is that?
What page do you have?
Trains, water main heaters, right on the top of the page, $336. I'm not questioning the price, I just wondering what it is.
Oh, train heating and cooling.
Yeah,
That would be, I'm not seeing it
and what
right.
is a water main heater?
Cold water heater, probably the main heater is, I probably
It
put
was a
in,
water heater?
No, I'd
Hold
have to
on.
see the bill to see what that was
and I
labeled.
can pull it up.
boiler.
Was it the boiler? Okay.
So that
You
water
took it as a
main is
water
different? Oh, okay.
If you worked on the boiler system, we were having issues in the treatment plant.
And I noticed, I don't know if this is under billing or not, but you can just answer, after that water main break on Fourth Street, I seen Sobel at Fourth Street lift station. Was there a problem there because of the water main break? or
No,
what
we
is
just did preventative maintenance.
Okay.
They did all of the lift stations with PMs and it
I
was
seen they were there the day after the water main break or so. I thought
Just
they
a-
got some kind of.
no, just a matter of timing, luckily.
Alright, that's
Glad
it.
there was no
Bunch
issue.
of people were complaining about, we didn't have road closed signs up, we only had minute working signs. Do we have a better procedure now?
No, they were all there.
Yeah, close sign with a,
They were all there.
I saw them too.
So the people
Down
on
there, big orange signs.
Facebook were all wet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we advised through the PD Facebook page and we completely blocked off the road.
Well, good.
They were there.
I knew it before I drew down there.
Yeah,
so I-
okay. Thank you.
I don't know what they were talking about.
I've got a question on
Sure.
several of the wages, just the delta points is significantly more than budgeted. It's not the dollar amount, I'm just curious. For example, on page 3, it says trans maintenance main wage regular. And it's 169% more than we thought it was gonna be. So I'm just curious, is there a challenge on predicting it, or?
Wages regular. I think it's just, when people code their time cards, if they're working in water, it can go to about 30 different places, depending on the activity they're doing. So that one is over in what activity they were doing, but then another one would be under. Does that make sense?
Okay, all right.
You know, if they weren't doing
Yeah,
a
'cause I
different
noticed some-
activity,
I
I
noticed
guess,
some
yeah.
Way under, so I wasn't, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to understand what
This
was
is
behind that.
When I first got on here, it's even hour or time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some activities happen more in one season than others, too, so it was higher than. the other.
Some emergencies happen more in one category than
Okay,
others.
all right, well, that helps me
Yeah.
understand what's going
Yeah.
on. Yeah, all right.
Any other questions? No, we'll take a roll.
Alderperson Bob Smith,
Aye.
Roger Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Engel,
Aye.
Commissioner Lodo,
Aye.
Commissioner Freights,
Aye.
Commissioner Casper.
Hi. Move on to item B, water report.
All right, the one we just talked about, we had a water main break, surface on 4th Street on 122. Leak had taken a while to surface. It was following Clearstone to the creek, so some of the pictures that some of you might have saw, it was following the creek from 4th Street all the way to the sewer plant. And essentially it was limestone dust, so it wasn't surfacing. It found an outlet and followed the creek all the way to the plant, so. It was repaired, I think that Monday it was repaired, but, we had some issues along the way there, most definitely, so. We're very glad that we did block off that road that we spoke about, because there was a cement saw when cutting that street that, fell in the hole, and luckily their personnel did not fall in the hole, so. There's a very expensive saw out for an insurance claim right now.
Was it one of ours, or?
No, it would be a masonry contractor's saw, so.
We heard about that in the council meeting, but the only thing I asked is, was it a judgment call to wait to repair it till Monday, or wasn't it bad enough?
It didn't surface, we didn't know where it was. I mean,
Okay.
we had a leak detect person coming out. It was following the creek, but it wasn't surfacing, so we would have
You
been
didn't know
poking
where to
around.
dig the hole.
Yeah, we didn't know where to dig the hole.
And when you finally did, it was a sinkhole. It became.
It was completely undermined, yes. So we're,
3 weeks that was leaking.
yeah, there
We
was,
knew it,
we
just
could
couldn't
notice
find it.
usages, but we didn't know where in the entire city that leak might be. So, yeah, no truck landed through there, no person. we're good. Contract work took place for, iron filters through Veolia, through that utility service contract company that we have. We're working with alternating schedules for rebuilds on the well pumps. We'll have some more information next month. This company is kind of going back and forth and wanting us to get out, and it's been complicated. They want us to get out of contract, buy out of contract. We want to make sure that our wells are rebuilt prior to anything happening, and it needs to make financial sense as well. So they're putting together some numbers and things for us, after offering us 2 different buyout options already.
So we have to rebid this then, or?
Well, they kind of want us out but we want the highest cost of this contract is the last year of the contract. So they're saying if we would buy our way out of this contract, they would fill their obligation of pulling the well pumps early and try to get out of it.
Otherwise, they're gonna renege on that 10-year contract?
No, they'd have to follow through,
No.
but we'd still have to be paying our regular contract as well.
It'd be foolish for us to get out of that, wouldn't it?
I think,
Well, Jim, the reason why we're working on that, we're trying to accelerate it to
Yeah.
year 8 to pull that well 4 and get that rehab before we put a brand new building over the top. Do it all at one time. It's only
We tried
if
to offer
build the
that
building and then
suggestion
start
just to
ripping
swap
walls
in
and
the
stuff out a year
contracts.
later and making a big mess. Let's just.
we were
do it,
told
get
that
it
would
done.
come
All
with a
we
large
asked for was like
charge
a
in order to
2-year
do that
acceleration.
swap. So they're,
They actually approached us when it was taken over by Veolia to get out immediately, because they don't wanna do it, right? Courtney, is that
it's
pretty much so?
yeah, it's difficult. I initially approached them because I asked about well 4. I said, well 4 is down and we're in this contract. Do we really have to pay for well 4 as part of this contract? And they said, well, it's part of the contract, we do. I tried, but, so they've been going back and forth and trying to get us to bite on.
And where is this company located at these days?
Well, that's a really good question. So sometimes we call Georgia and nobody answers, and Georgia has to call their contractors, which they're not certain that they have contracts with the local contractors, and it's become kind of a nightmare to get
Yeah,
hold of
see, when
it.
this started out, they were around by Rich Street. or
Right.
somewhere around.
It was local when it started out. Now we're sometimes in Georgia, I think sometimes in Chicago. We're not really sure where we're,
So they're giving you the runaround.
yes.
It's the same Veolia that does the waste handling?
Yeah, I believe so. So it was, they've been bought out twice since you guys had signed the contract. So it was Veolia, then it was Suez shortly before, and then it was Utility Service Company.
And don't forget, it started out as water wells.
Yeah, and they're the ones contracted to do work right now, so it's gotten very complicated and lots of extra hoops to jump through to get anything done.
So that might be a reason to get out of it.
It's a conversation, maybe?
I would say they'd have to make you an offer you can't refuse
Right.
before you get out of it, because they owe us.
The only thing is, if they aren't available when we need them, then they aren't any good at all.
Yeah, we've bypassed them before when we had an issue. We've said, we've called water wells directly. We can't get a hold of somebody in Georgia at, whatever time at night, and we've just kind of done the ask for forgiveness later. We're
But
not
they
gonna
made
hold
good
it.
on it afterwards, because they're responsible, right? Didn't they?
As far as we know to this point, yeah. It takes a while.
So, sorry, so does water well still exist as a
Yes.
contractor? So
So-
once we're done with this contract, we could go back to
We'd
work?
still have a local contractor available and a couple other options as well. Yeah, there's local contractors
So
available.
we'll be glad to be done with this
It just-
whenever it's done.
Been taken over at a corporate level, and it
As long as we get our money's worth out of it.
one conversation, I guess Greg will talk about later, but well, 4 is posted for bidding, so I'll let you fill them in on the rest there later. And then last month, we talked about, during a meter change, we found a partial galvanized, service line coming into a house, water service. We got a hold of the DNR. The DNR gave us permission since it's not a full lead service replacement, so DNR let us pay for this out of lead funding, and the work is done. It's over, so.
Was it spliced or was it just lead in the?
There was poly coming through the floor, and then it was a really weird situation where it went through 2 walls in the basement. So you had to trace it back, but there was about 12 to 15 feet of galvanized
What was the
connected
address
to the
on this?
poly. That side of 2 something Main Street,
253 South
223
Main.
maybe, 253.
53 South Main is Wolf.
That's all I have for water at the moment.
Okay. We'll go on item E, wastewater report.
Some of it crosses paths a little here, water and wastewater, but our intern started 2-2 from Marine Park. We'll be working both water and wastewater projects. Mike Passberg passes general wastewater and collection system and now holds a DNR operator license. Our lab passed to the state lab of hygiene proficiency testing, so we can keep it. And Mike and I met with personnel from Seneca to review their processes and just kind of understand their operations. Last year, we were kind of behind the scenes testing to see where some higher chlorides were coming from. So we went with them, and we think we have all the chloride issues cleared up that we've been having last year.
They had a lot of new folks this last.
There was a huge turnover, and I think we kind of, that we got to the root of the problem there, yeah. Nobody was there for information for them.
So where is it for?
It was a essentially a water softener issue that they had there. So that's all been replaced and cleared up. It was, somebody programmed something incorrectly and their backwash cycles were wrong, and it was the learning curve from a lot of people. Anytime we would email or, try to send data, the email would come back monthly rejected, like this person no longer works here. So I think they've got a steady crew back, and we got to the bottom of the issue, so keep the salt in the peas and corn. Here we go. Leroy Kikoski lift station had a pump rail separate from the bracket, so the bracket pulled away, stainless steel bracket, broke clean, dropped the pump in the lift station. We had Sabo, fab and replace that. Luckily, we have 3 pumps out there to keep operating on. It's not very old. I don't know why it broke. Just did.
We're back to maintaining that then.
What's that?
We are back to maintaining that. I thought, they had their own people that were doing it.
Oh, no, we have, our contract reads, we have their contract. We do all the
I
The
know.
only thing they do is sample.
It's the sampling, yeah. Yep, so, that's all been fixed. It wasn't too terrible. The pump's fine.
How long's the contract for?
Life.
Forever.
Yep, in 40 years, I think we own the place, right? Something like that. Something to that effect.
Police chief. Maybe I should go. No, I ain't gonna answer.
Oh, Alley Street, treatment plant upgrades and Muzzy and Allen Street projects that we had been anticipating have all been, added to DNR project priority listings for funding, so that was good news too. We don't know those amounts yet, but they've all been approved for funding. And we'll be meeting with MSA to discuss a few final plans for facilities planning, and we should see them in March for presentation. And finally, mercury testing for December, was a little concerning to us. Our influent numbers were lower than the effluent numbers significantly. We went back to the lab and had them rerun everything. I know the lab is going through some changes too. But we had to end up reporting these mercury numbers. So we've never seen an 89 in mercury reporting in sewer before, and it's on the effluent.
Coming out of the plant somewhere,
It was lower coming in than it was going out,
that
which
is concerning.
makes absolutely no sense. So have no explanation for that whatsoever, other than an error along the line somewhere, but that's what we had to report. So we might see some changes. It might affect when we do permitting and re-permit the plant, so we'll have to see.
Are we talking about water right now? I forget it.
We have to test mercury on the sewer side for
Okay,
a permit.
Did we do the water report yet?
Yeah.
Oh, we did. I had a question with all this talk of vinyl chloride with this train wreck in Ohio and whatever. Vinyl chloride is a very scary thing. Are we still sample testing on the wells, on the edge? I mean.
For VOCs?
Yeah,
Yes,
no trace at all? Okay, but,
no detection.
because they're trying to determine the safe level, and they
Yeah.
say there is no such thing.
Yep, no, we have no detection. I think we had, I don't know, 20 years of
Okay.
no detection, but we're doing a more frequent sampling schedule.
Because I'm worried about our landfill, as you.
Okay.
All right.
If you're good.
Okay, thanks. We'll move on to item F, update regarding wall number 4, planning and reconstruction.
All right, so plans were released for bidding last week. We advertised in the local paper. We also use an online bid service called Quest. I also personally sent out the advertisement for bid to about 20 different contractors that we work with on a regular basis, along with a number of vendors as well, trying to, for all intents and purposes, advertise your project. The good news is we're out for bid. Just a reminder, we do have, through the Safe Drinking Water Fund, 25% principal forgiveness, which is a grant. And that was based on the budget that we submitted, which was about $2.8 million for the entire project, all in. That is all the good news. The bad news is that current bid conditions are not favorable, I would say, for municipalities. What we are seeing is there is a decent amount of private work out there, and contractors are tending to take that private work yet because there are less strings attached to it, I'll say. We are still seeing 2 to 3, sometimes 4 bids on a project, but bids have been running anywhere from 25% to 100% over estimate. And that is not only just Town and Country's projects, we've been monitoring MSA's projects, Donahue projects, and a number of others, because there is a very limited contractor pool in the water wastewater industry. There is probably a handful of contractors that do maybe 90% of the water and wastewater work in the state. And so we know those folks well. We talk to them on a very regular basis and have very open conversations with them. What we've done though is we position your bid day where there's no other real competition, I'll say that week. So we're trying to make it so that contractors have adequate time to take a look at your plans and put together hopefully a competitive bid on it. But we had bid opening today on a $20 million wastewater plant in Waterloo that came in at 22.5 million or 23 million, something like that. So it's the nature of the industry right now. There is more work than contractors, and material costs are all exceptionally high.
This is considered, I've had a few phone calls about it. This is considered a small project
It is.
to them, so your pool
Yeah.
kind of shrinks a
So-
little bit.
A few years ago, I would have felt real good entering the market with a $2.5 million project. I would have felt very confident that we would have a lot of bidders on it. Right now, contractors are walking by those because they're bidding projects that size every week with the secondary crew, I'll say, because there's a lot of projects out there in the $10 to $25 million range. They're obviously getting their primary attention.
How many bids did you have in Waterloo?
We had 3.
I imagine it's because, do you expect it to get any better? Because I imagine this is because of all the ARPA money and all the infrastructure money floating around.
At this point, no.
I don't think.
You're still seeing, so the other part of it is when, if we'd have bid this project a couple of years ago, I would have did a 1 year from award to completion timeline and felt very comfortable that a contractor would have adequate time to get in there and get the project done. We, again, in talking to contractors, we've been pushing out those completion dates as much as we can because of material shortages. There's still things like a generator where if I ordered it today, I might see it in a year. Same with some of the power distribution equipment. I'm being told maybe 9 months on the filter itself as far as getting that delivered. So with these long lead times, we gave your project a 1.5 years for a substantial completion, which means that if all goes per plan, we would award your project in April, and we would have it up and running by the fall of 24.
And you're thinking it's gonna cost us double what we anticipated?
I'm hoping, Bob, that it's not double, but I'm anticipating you might see 25% more. So again, we've been working our hardest trying to advertise your project. We do have 7 general contractors that are plan holders now. We have 5 electrical contractors. More and more, we've been marketing to the electrical contractors as well, because 1, they have had very high cost increase in their market, and 2, we have seen a lot of projects where there's only 1 or 2 electrical contractors that will provide
Is
it.
Myron still active in municipal water?
Myron has taken out plans on a few projects and said no. To our knowledge, Myron has only bid 1 or 2 real large wastewater projects this year. They have enough private work that we have not seen them active in the city. Another one, Staub does a ton of work in water, wastewater throughout our state. They said, thanks, but we're kind of full. And quite honestly, they were pretty full for the year by about the 2nd week of January. So I wish I had a crystal ball to tell you what numbers we'll have, but I'll be back here in a month to hopefully not face the firing squad, but to talk through the project and what we have and the options at that time. We'll have bids in on the 23rd, and I'll put together a bid tab and a recommendation, and we'll talk about that next month.
And it will be what it will be.
Yeah, I mean, there is always options as to whether we award it or not, or how we award it, because we do have some alternates in there as well, that we'll talk through.
Thank you for the update, I think. Any other questions before you leave? Okay, if not, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Great.
We'll move on to item G, discussion and possible action regarding quotes for 2023 sanitary sewer televising.
So at the very end of your packet, I got, this is the annual televising we've been doing. And I got 2 quotes here for the same amount of footage. Usually we do about 18 to 19,000 feet of televising a year. I upped this quote a little bit because it was just a little bit more to get it all done. We have a full view of the city to get it all done. So we paid, footage wise, and they're all here at once. You don't have a separate mobilization fee. And then we don't have to touch televising next year at all. Just to do that extra bit of footage.
Looks like Great Lakes is a pretty good deal, actually.
Yeah, that's significantly. So last year, the footage that we did for cost comparison, I think the footage was like 20,000 square feet. We did for 11,000. So their quote came in at 14,000 to finish up the entire rest of the city. So, I mean, if somebody doesn't want to finish the rest of it, I can go back and re-quote, but it looked smarter to just do that little bit extra all at once than the.
This is what I thought it would cost us just to do the smaller portion.
Have we done business with Speedy Clean before?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, occasionally, sometimes their quotes come in a
I
little
just
bit.
don't, I'm not familiar with the name.
They come out of like, yeah, Menasha area. And I have in the past as well too, but.
So I would, are you looking for a motion? I would make a motion to finish it up and take Great Lakes.
Third, second.
I'll second it.
We have a first and second to accept the quote from Great Lakes at the amount of 14,076.07. Is there any more questions? Take the roll.
Alderpersons Bob Smith,
Aye.
Alderpersons Roger Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Engel,
Aye.
Commissioner Modell,
Aye.
Commissioner Freight,
Aye.
Commissioner Patrick.
Aye. Item H, convene in the closed session pursuant to section 1985, parens 1C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which a governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility.
That's where the door shutting jokes come in, yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, I'll get the door.
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right,
I'll make a
Thank
motion
you.
to go in closed session.
I'll second that.
first and second, all in favor?
Oh, wait, you gotta do a roll.
Do we?
Closed session, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I have to stop this first.
Oops.
Yeah, you have to shut that all.
Yeah.
Oh.